I was an engineer first, and then I became a founder. And then in order to actually have a successful company, I embraced founder-led go-to-market. For every single SaaS company that I've ever scaled, for every SaaS company that I coach, I always follow a data-backed go-to-market approach. Comes from my engineering roots. And whenever we do that, we're able to scale these companies that much faster. So in this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 principles that you absolutely need to know on how to actually use a data-backed approach to scale your go-to-market so you can accelerate your path to that next stage of growth. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. If you're already part of this community, if you're part of this channel, we just hit 60,000 subscribers. My people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. And thank you for the honor and privilege to serve you in this way. So every single time I'm working with a founder or for one of my own companies, we are scaling our go-to-market machine, there's 2 things I look at. First, every week I look at this dashboard. It tells me exactly what's working and what's not and what do we need to tweak. And every quarter we zoom out and we take a look at this dashboard. And it tells us on a macro level what's working, what's not, and what do we need to tweak. Underlying both of these dashboards are 3 core principles that allows us to grow our SaaS businesses and scale our go-to-market machines through a data-backed approach. When we do it through data, we're able to know exactly what's working, what's not, and what do we need to tweak versus breaking the whole machine. So in this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 key principles that drives all these dashboards, the 3 key principles that you can implement to understand what's working, what's not, and where do you need to double down. So if you're excited to dig into the principles, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that, and so do we. And let's dive right into it. Okay, first, let's lay out the chessboard right over here. There's 4 key things that you really need to know when it comes to instrumenting your go-to-market machine and following a data-backed approach. The first thing you need to actually start measuring is traffic. This is essentially how many people, especially in your ideal customer profile, are finding out about you. They're coming on your website, they're coming on your lead magnets, they're looking at your content. So traffic is the biggest thing. If you have 0 traffic, then no one will know about you. It also means that you don't really have a go-to-market strategy and you're not really getting out there. The second thing you wanna look at is leads. Just because someone visits your website, until they really engage with you, they become a lead, they download a piece of content or fill out a form or start to actually poke around in a deeper way, they're not really engaged in the buying process. And you want to get them engaged in the buying process so you can educate them and guide them in the buying process, and that way they choose you when they're actually choosing the solution that they're going to buy. Once someone becomes a lead, a lot of times people just become a lead and then they move on and then they forget about you. So just becoming a lead isn't enough. You also need to turn those into real opportunities. Opportunities are when someone engages with you and your sales team and says, hey, I'm really interested in this. I'd love a demo, or I'd love to get on a strategy session, or I'd love to get on a demo call. If you are product-led, typically an opportunity is also referred to as a trial. But either way, you want to turn the traffic into leads and the leads into actual opportunities and trials. And finally, the reason we're doing all of this, you want to turn all of this into revenue. Each of these key parts are the key components to a scalable go-to-market machine. So before you start tracking any data and get into any sophisticated dashboards, you just need to understand these 4 components. That's the chessboard that we're dealing with. Now, this is when we dig into the 3 key principles that you need to follow to really understand what's working and what's not. The first principle that you want to look at is what we call your conversion rate. This is the conversion rate of the number of people that are showing up on your lead magnet or your landing page or your homepage and actually becoming a real lead. There may be a lot of people just clicking, ending up on your thing, but not really taking action, which means that there's something off in your messaging. So it's super important to start to understand what is the actual conversion rate of the traffic to actual leads. That's the first thing that you want to be measuring on a week-by-week basis. The second thing that you want to be measuring is just because someone becomes a lead doesn't mean that it's going to actually turn into revenue. So we always want to measure how many of these leads are fit leads and how many of these are actually engaging more in the buying process. The more they engage in the buying process, whether it's starting a trial and really using your product or getting into your sales process and booking a call, the more likely they are that they're going to actually turn into revenue. So the second thing we always track is what we call the activation rate. What percentage of your actual leads are taking real action? Are they really activating inside your product, inside of your trial, or becoming a sales call, a sales opportunity? So that's the second principle that you really want to measure. Now, before I go into the third one, which you may start to guess, but there's a nuance here, let me just pause here for a second. Is this simple? Absolutely. Is this complicated? Yes. It's both true because the devil is in the details. The biggest problem that I see is a lot of people just don't do the math. They don't do the math of how much traffic am I driving? How many of them are actually turning into leads? How many of them are turning into real opportunities or trials? Just from these two metrics, the first one being conversion rate and the second one being your activation rate, you can start to understand, are we driving enough traffic? Are we doing enough marketing and sales activities to get people to know about us? Are we being compelling enough in our messaging to say, hey, you know what? I'm really interested in this, so that they become a lead. And once they become a lead, are we following up with them with a proper go-to-market machine so that they actually become opportunities? Just because someone fills out a form and looks at some piece of PDF or looks at your blog or looks at your YouTube doesn't mean that they're gonna become real sales opportunities. So you need to measure both of these. If you're starting to see the power in this, if you're starting to see why breaking it down into just these two metrics before we even get to the third one, and there's some nuances to that one, you're starting to see it can, one, tell you if it's any effective, if it's any good, if that fractional CMO you hired is actually delivering any results. If you're starting to see the power in this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that, and so do we. Put a lot of love into these videos. Also, if you're in this stage where you're trying to figure out, well, how do I generate traffic? How do I convert them to leads? How do I get them into a sales process? What should my sales process look like? How do I instrument my product-led process? And you wanna actually build out a proper go-to-market strategy, this is what I do with founders inside of my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. You don't have to go anywhere right now. I'll tell you about it at the end of this episode. Let's go to the third principle because this is what brings it all together. The third principle, as you may have guessed, but there are some nuances to this, is what percentage of opportunities and trials are converting to revenue. And that's what we call your win rate. And that's principle number 3 and metric number 3. The win rate determines if any of this is working. Now, everyone knows you want to look at the win rate, and there's some industry benchmarks, and I'll cover the industry benchmarks for each of these that you should hold yourselves to, that we see across the companies that we work with. But before I talk about that, let me just highlight one key thing. The win rate on its own is not that interesting. What's interesting is understanding, hey, if I'm looking at a certain win, a certain customer, where do they come from? How do they discover us? What channel do we acquire them through? What's the win rate by channel? So let's just say you're doing content on LinkedIn, or you're doing outbound, or you're running ads. Understanding your win rate all the way at the end on where that traffic came from, how they discovered you, or where even that lead came from, even on a notional basis, will help you understand where do you win more and where do you win less. Looking at this win rate and understanding, hey, what type of customer do we have a higher win rate in? Is it a particular type of customer? Is it a particular segment of the market? Is it a certain price point where we have higher win rates? All of these little things can give you a clue into what's working and what's not. And you can backtrack from here to understand, hey, what channel are we getting traffic from that's yielding the most revenue? What channel tends to activate more and faster? How quickly do we get to revenue from what channel? All these little things start to come together when you track win rate and segment it based on these other metrics as well. So here's the benchmarks. You might be wondering, TK, okay, I have the conversion rate, I have the activation rate, I have the win rate, and you should be able to pull this from your systems very quickly, very easily. If you're not instrumenting this, then chances are you're not instrumented properly, you're not using the right go-to-market systems, and that's a different story. But you should be able to pull this even on an average basis. You don't have to be precise around it. There are some benchmarks here. On a good landing page, let's just say you put a lead magnet out there and you run ads to it and you run content to it and you do organic, you should see at least a 20% plus conversion rate. That's the industry benchmark. If you're not converting 20% of the traffic, there's something wrong with the funnel that you're running. There's something wrong with your messaging. There's something wrong with your targeting. This is a clue, because if this is not at least 20%, maybe these things don't matter as much. You want to actually solve for this first. This is the power of doing a data-backed GTM, because you can kind of say, what's the number one thing I really need to focus on first before I think about the whole thing? It's very easy to get extremely overwhelmed with the entire machine. Breaking it down to just these 3 metrics helps you figure out, what do I double down on? What do I fix first? If my conversion rate is totally messed up, well, there's not even enough opportunities coming through to have a proper win rate number. So let's just focus on getting more leads flowing through. And then let's figure out how to actually get activation going. Now, you might be wondering, what's the benchmark for leads turning into opportunities? And the benchmark we typically see is 10%, but we've seen upwards of 20%. The better the targeting, the more precise you are about the ideal customer profile, the more precise you're going to be with your messaging and how you acquire traffic and convert them to leads, and higher the activation is going to be. So you really want to figure out if someone's telling you, let's just say you paid an agency $3,000 a month and they're run by an ex-pizza boy that's never built a SaaS company before. And they're like, we're generating all these leads and all these likes. Well, you want to ask, well, how many of those leads turn into real sales opportunities? That's an important question to ask. That's how you can hold people accountable. This is the kind of thing, when I learned this first, I realized, you know what? I got to take this into my own hands, especially in the early stages. I need to measure this. And I need to figure out how to hold people accountable. And some of it, I just have to do myself and fix it. That's just what a founder does. And the final piece for the win rate, the benchmarks are 20% plus. 20% plus is the average win rate, especially when it comes to sales-driven companies. So you're running a sales process, they're going through a sales call, you should be at least at 20%. Even if you're at 18%, that's still pretty good. But when it's inbound leads, I've seen upwards of 50% win rate. So the better these pieces are, the better your marketing is, the better the sales is going to be. Now, when it comes to product-led, if there's no humans involved, there's no white glove, and people are just coming into your product, doing a trial, and then swiping the credit card, the win rate tends to be, so we'll do product-led and sales-led, the win rate tends to be about 10%. In the lower end, about 7%. So 7 to 10% is what you want to aim for a product-led process. And 20 to 50% is what you want to aim for a sales-led process. So those are the benchmarks. Now, let's recap. In order to build a scalable go-to-market machine, you want to take a data-backed approach. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a nerd, I'm saying this because this is honestly the easiest way to do it. And I work with founders that don't have engineering backgrounds, and when they look at the numbers and they look at the data and look at those dashboards, they're like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. I know exactly what we need to focus on. So once you take a data-backed approach, you want to first map out traffic, leads, opportunities or trials, and then revenue. And then you want to measure the 3 key metrics on a week-by-week basis and a quarter-by-quarter basis to see how they're trending. What's my conversion rate? What's my activation rate? And what's my win rate? And if every week you run one experiment to say, I'm going to increase the conversion rate or the activation rate or the win rate, or I'm going to increase the traffic, your go-to-market machine is going to get better and better and better and better and better. And that's the power of this. And I'll tell you this, it's fun. Once you have this instrumented and you're looking at the numbers, that's those dashboards that I showed you, it's fun to look at those because you can run 1 experiment, 2 experiment, you tweak things and numbers go up and then you scale. And when you know a channel is working, you double down on it. It is incredible. And that's how companies scale. So now you know the 3 key principles to following a data-backed go-to-market approach. Conversion rate, activation rate, win rate. Conversion rate, activation rate, win rate. Conversion rate, activation rate, win rate. Measure those 3 things, hold yourself accountable to those things, make those go up, and everything else will come together nicely. Now, what you may not know is, TK, how do I get more traffic? How do I get people to notice me? How do I increase my conversion rate? It's just not working. I sent out 10,000 emails outbound and no one's responding. Or I ran a lead magnet, or I posted content, but none of them turned into leads. Or you may be wondering, okay, I got the leads, but how do I nurture them? How do I turn them into a real opportunity? Or you may be wondering, how do I actually run a proper sales process? I'm getting on calls and then I'm getting ghosted. Or people are starting trials and after that, not converting to revenue. I'm nowhere close to that 7% floor. This is why I created my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. I work with founders just like you to actually build out a scalable go-to-market machine for your SaaS business. It is an incredible program. Now, specifically, there's 3 core pillars we focus on inside the program. Number 1, we flesh out your ideal customer profile. The more precise your ideal customer profile is, the more effective all these metrics are going to be. Second, we flesh out your manifesto. Your manifesto is your positioning. It's your strategic narrative. It's how you communicate yourself into the market. It's what you put on your website or your landing page so people actually convert. That is super important to actually standing out in the competitive SaaS space and your competitors. Once you do those 2 things, you essentially have your core go-to-market strategy. Once you have your core go-to-market strategy, then the 3rd pillar comes on. And that's when we run a Broadway show. A Broadway show is a consistent set of sales and marketing activities that you run to generate traffic, convert them to leads, convert them to opportunities, and convert them to revenue. That Broadway show is super important. And we're super focused because we're looking at these metrics and figuring out, is it working, is it not, and what do we tweak? And it's super easy. Some people think they have a go-to-market strategy or have an ideal customer profile or a messaging. And all I always say is, okay, cool. Just look at your conversion rate, your activation rate, and your win rate. Conversion rate, activation rate, win rate. And you'll know right away if you're hitting the benchmarks, and if it's any good. And if it's not, then it's time to revamp that go-to-market machine. It is an incredible program. So if you want to work together, just go to tkkader.com/GTM. tkkader.com/GTM. You'll get all the details in there. Now, the better the fit, the better the results, which is why we ask you to fill out a small form so we can get on a call. On the call, we'll ask you where you are in the business, what you're struggling with, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And if it sounds like it's a fit, then we'll get off to the races right away. So just go to tkkader.com/GTM for all the details. Also, if you got values from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. We put a lot of love into these videos, and it just means the world to us, and the YouTube algorithm loves it too, so we can help as many SaaS founders as possible. Also, if you have a fellow founder, if you have a team member that will get value from this video, please share this with them. It would mean the world to us as well. Part of a WhatsApp group, a Slack group of other founders, if you're part of a community, share this video with them. We want everyone running on a proper data-backed go-to-market. Lastly, I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, that way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is gonna be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode, or inside the SaaS Go-to-Market Coaching Program, where we get to work together. Take care, everybody. Lastly, I run a video like this. Lastly,